The Havod Morva Copperworks site has been left empty for years, after a long history of being part of the centre of the world's copper industry. For around 200 years, most of the world's copper came from Swansea, and at its peak, 80% of the world's copper came from the area. The site is now part of a major regeneration programme, with Welsh whisky distillery Penderyn set to move into the premises, hoping to be part of a major tourist site.
Penderyn Distillery brought back distilling to Wales after a gap of nearly 100 years. When we started distilling in 2000 at our distillery on the foothills of the Brecon Beacons. And when we had an opportunity to work with Swansea City Council and the university on this particular project, we obviously jumped at it. First of all, we work with copper, so bringing copper back to the old copperworks, it just seemed a perfect fit. The HLF grant that's been announced today is a major step. Our job now is to go back to Wales Government and finalise our plans with them. But we have great plans for this area. We're talking about a distillery, a 3-storey building with a visitor centre, a bar, also a museum which will not only tell the story of Welsh whisky and how we make it, but also the story of the whole site, the whole Copperworks site. And it's wonderful to bring this very important industry to Swansea, just bring it back to life. And we're very, very excited to be part of those plans.
Penderyn teamed up with Swansea Council, Swansea University and the Friends of the Copperworks as part of the bid for the Heritage Lottery Fund. And the council have said bringing the rich history of Swansea back to the fore is vitally important to the people of Swansea.
Well, obviously this is a big Heritage Lottery £3.6 million grant that we get in. That's actually kick-starting something like a £10-15 million development on the site of Penderyn. People might ask, well, what are these old buildings worth saving? This is part of Welsh industrial history. This is where the ICI company started on a worldwide basis, when Swansea was the metallurgical centre of the world, where 80% of the world's copper came out to Swansea. And it's important that we keep our heritage for people to understand and future generations to know the importance of Swansea in the wider world.
The Heritage Lottery Fund gives millions of pounds worth of grants every year, and the roughly £3.6 million going towards the Grade 2 listed building is one of the biggest grants this year. And the site is not only important to Wales, but according to the HLF, is one of the most important historic sites in the UK.
It's a very important building in Swansea's industrial history and the industrial history of Wales. It's Grade 2 star, so that ranks it in the top 4% of historic buildings in the country, so it's very important that it's saved. But it's not just about saving this building, it's about giving it a new sustainable use as well. It's not just about restoring for restoring's sake. You've got to think about new uses for historic buildings as well. If they're going to survive in the long term, they have to have new life. And bringing a new company into what was an industrial building, I think the synergies there are just fantastic, and that's what interested the Heritage Lottery Fund to use national lottery players' money to invest in this project.
With a global brand like Penderyn, lottery funding, council and government backing, as well as academic support from Swansea University, the site, which looks to open in around 2 or 3 years, will hope to attract 50,000 people to the area every year. James Powell Jenkins, Nats TV.